Sorry for everyone. There was a confusion in the meeting hour, in the meeting time. Just Lee and I discuss about these topics that I will share, but I will do a quick review about the things that we were talking about. And the first thing we talked about was the Izuku work for automatic releases on Helm charts. That is here. Helm chart. Yeah, this pull request. In this pull request, Izuku will automate the releases of Helm charts. He's doing a GitHub Action workflow, and for this, every time we publish a new release of Meshery, there will be a new version of Helm chart also. So Izuku is not here because he's in a different time zone, but with this pull request, we will have automatic Helm charts. And that is for the first topic that we talked before. The second one is something that Lee do about Windows support, and this is what. Sorry, something he's talking. The second item was about supporting Windows in Meshery. Currently, we are not supporting Windows or ARM CPUs for Meshery, and temporarily, the thing that Lee did was ignoring those support version of the operating system. But in the next release of Meshery, we should have this support for Windows and other ARM architecture. So right now we are just skipping that. We are ignoring that. But in the next release, we should fix that. Any comment about these two topics?
Yes, Meshery doesn't work on Windows. Meshery CTL or Meshery?
I think it's Meshery CTL.
Okay, because there's some things that work on Windows. Say, for instance, the uh, uh, it's not that it doesn't. Maybe there are one or two things that don't work, but a lot of the commands in Meshery CTL do work on Windows. And I think
Okay.
somebody tested this a few weeks ago, actually. Uh, Maybe I don't remember, but Lee, didn't you ask that? Uh, you had a spreadsheet. Lee had a spreadsheet, and then and then somebody, I don't remember who it was. Maybe it's not working as well as it should, or maybe all of the things are not working. But I think at least some of the commands in Meshery CTL are working in Windows.
Yeah, I remember the same thing that a couple weeks ago there was someone that tested in Windows and it worked. But yeah, I think Lee is not is gone. But yeah, let's ask.
Guys, I don't think it is like Windows problem. It's just ARM architecture. Otherwise, Windows it's working. Windows, Mac, Linux, all the three of them.
Oh, okay.
So it's the ARM architecture.
Yeah, ARM.
yeah, other yeah. So you said it okay,
I think maybe in that case,
Rodolfo.
if you can specify, if you can take out the windows, or make a comment there that it's not completely Windows, and make sure that it's ARM. I mean, so that that statement becomes more specific. It points to ARM. Otherwise, people may be looking at the problem in the wrong place, right?
Right, right. Thanks for pointing out, BA. We should specify that is on ARM architecture only.
Or maybe we should ask Lee why maybe he's aware of something else that we are not. If he put that.
Yeah, maybe. Let's
Yeah, that could
put
be.
this pending until less if it comes back. So for the next topic that we were talking about is about auto-publishing the release notes. Currently, if we release a new version of Meshery, there is a document where we put all of these changes, and that wasn't working before because we changed something. Let me show you what happened before. Uh, Action release drafter. Yeah, before there was an error trying to running the the release drafter workflow. So I tried to fix that workflow to only be triggered on GitHub releases, but we have another problem. The other problem is that we need to update temporal draft pull request here on every merge to master. For example, Lee merged something in the morning today, and this change, for example, this 404 error, this change should be in the draft pull request of Meshery. So uh, this change should be posted here. So this is for in the time that we want to release a new version of Meshery, all the changes should be listed here, and we only like edit this draft and publish this release. So that is not working right now. I will create another workflow for this one, but the thing that is working now is that we publish some notes in the docs folder. I think so, because the last one was for 0422, and yeah, and that's the the last one that was correct. So yeah, I will be working on that this weekend. And also another thing is that we should use the release drafter patch token instead of the GitHub token, because if you see every Mercury release, it says that it was made by Lee, but this is not necessarily correct because this Mercury release was made by Yuma, I think so. Uh, it was made by Abhishek. So I will change that in order to replace this name into layer 5, for example. Does anyone has a question or concern about this?
Yes, hi. Uh, is there a list of the documentations, of the document files that correspond to each of the Meshery's versions?
Is there a document that explains this one?
Yeah, like where we could relate the documentation files that were supposed to be on the Meshery version 0.2, for example, and not to have the documents mixed up between versions.
Ah, okay, okay, okay. I think in the
Currently,
workflow.
we
Yeah,
don't
sorry,
have
Elena.
it. I don't think we have it, but I think for the new release or something is planned to have. So this is like we don't have for each release of Meshery, or for each release we don't have a different. We don't have the API documented, for example.
Okay,
We
so
we, ha- we only have the latest,
okay, so
and
maybe we could
but
start.
I think it is already started. This Lee presented this last 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 week or this week. Last week, actually, yeah, this week I don't think I have it on the developers meeting. So you can there are tasks in place for this. So help is needed.
Excellent. Okay, so maybe the
So
last version
I
and
don't know exactly what was the document and which are the tasks or so, but this is planned for the next release. For yeah,
excellent. Thank you very much.
so maybe Rodolfo can um, ping Lee to give us the information for this. So for sure it wasn't before. I didn't saw for 05, but now I see that it's 052. But I saw something either this week or last week. Someone started to work for this because we don't have documentation for each release. It's all for one.
Yeah, yeah. I will ping Lee to ask that. And waiting for the 0.5.2 release.
Okay, thank you very much. And also, I was having the idea that about the maturity documentation versions on the site, on the documentation site, it will have only the documents about the version minor number, if I not mistaken. So, for example, no, it will be like the documents for version 0.1, and then the document version for Machery 0.2 and such. But if we start this way, I think that we will have only the documents for version 0.5, which is the current version in development, correct?
Yeah, I think so.
Oh,
I have not dig in more into the version of the docs, but yeah, I think uh, that will be need to be fixed. Do you mean these docs, right?
yeah, that right, that ones. So
Mhm.
these documents has been updated with some changes that have been making the contributors to every one of the Measure's versions. Yeah. So, but what we don't have like a map of which content is about which version.
Mhm.
so
You're
so
right.
if we start right now to have a more control about the documentation that corresponds to each version, we will have to start by the current one, which is 0.5.
You're right, Alonso. What happened if something that we are talking about here is not validate or is not valid anymore for 0.5.2, for example? So we should have a drop down to change the docs version. I think I saw an issue before to implement that, right, Alonso?
Yeah, I'm working on that. But the main concern, one of the main concerns was that which documents correspond to the what we're
Yeah,
talking
I
about, the
see.
versions. And then the other thing is how often the version will be published, because is that there is a lot of releases about the version semantics.
Mhm.
So I think that maybe the I thought that I heard that the decision was to publish each minor version, so 0.1, 0.2, 0.3, and such, and not including the beta or release candidate or something like that, just the minor version. But I don't know which decision will be made about it.
Yeah, that is a good question. I think Jesus Lerma or Chandra he knows how or knows more about the dogs. So I think an option should can be ask they for how to manage that minor versions problem and how to tag every document dog for uh, uh, to know which version is related to that dog. But yeah, I think we should ask them because I'm not sure how it works.
Excellent. Yeah, actually, Jesus Lerma is reviewing the PR that is just a work in progress right now. It's not a complete or something. But yeah, thank you very much.
Yeah, sure. This is this one right?
Yeah,
Versioning
that one.
proof of concept. Okay. Yeah, let me take a look of this one and try to help asking the right people.
Yeah, I'm talking. I'm fixing that. There's a lot of repeated links about it because of each of the index pages of the versions search the whole site, and there's a lot of repeated files. So I'm fixing
Mhm.
that right now, and I will make a push in a few more minutes.
Okay, thanks Alonso for that, and
Thank you.
let me know.
Right.
Great.
I think, when you make a change to the software that affects the functioning, I think you should change the documentation. And so when the software that you made a change to goes into a release version, then the documentation of that functionality should also go into the documentation, right? I mean, I think the two should always be in sync together, isn't it? What do you guys think?
Yeah, I'll agree. I don't know if there's a way to manage all this that could be taken on a GitHub action or such, but the documentation will be have to be made accordingly to each release.
Right. I think so. If you have a PR, I think that PR should include not only the functionality of the fix that you're going to put in, but also a change to the documentation. So if you change, if you if you merge something, then you should also have a merge for the documentation, right? If you don't, then that means it's going out of sync, right? I mean, I'm just talking. I'm not. This is not. This is not the policy or anything like that. These are just my ideas. I'm just talking about this. That's all.
Yeah, yeah, of course. I thought I am. I think that some of the contribution about documentation has been made out of sync for that words for out of syncs about the functionality contributions. So some people make the contributions and some people make the documents, and that has been done in different times. So that maybe that could be done at the same time and be synchronized to be automated in the future. I don't know. I think that I think that the only way that that could be done is that the people that are contributing about functionality also contributes about the documentation. But I don't know if this has been the kind of work that everyone has been done.
Right. Yeah, I think there should be a baseline. You can't go back and determine who did what. That'll be very, very difficult to search, go back and search. But I think starting from a particular point,
Yeah, I think that from now, every change should be documented for which version is. But yeah, tagging all the work done until now is insane. But yeah, we can fix that from now and try to document that fix or that feature uh, right now.
Yeah. Yeah, you guys are right. I mean, VJ is correct that like, hey, if you change something and release the software, if there's documentation about it, it should probably, people should be able to. That's like, yeah, that would be the point of versioning. That's the point of having the docs, is to have something written about the thing, and then yeah, if you're going to change it and release and version the functionality, version the software, then yeah, the same thing goes for the docs. We ended up choosing some docs, the Jekyll theme that doesn't actually have versioning as a native capability, nor does it have multi-language support as a native capability, which means that folks like Alonso are having to build it out as a one-off. There are, there's a lot of things that can be automated. One of the topics that we were discussing before is the automated drafting of release notes. That happens today as we go to make a release. There's a very nerdy looking, like explicit set of release notes that are drafted automatically to include what PRs were merged and links to those pull requests. There's a subsequent automation that happens to grab those draft release notes, take them off of GitHub, and put them into Meshery docs themselves, so that the release notes are, in fact, auto drafting and auto publishing into the docs. That's great. There's a bug there right now. Rodolfo's looking through that. But that had been something that we'd perpetually missed. Like, hey, we're busy trying to get releases out and do things, and then we forget to, oh yeah, publish the release notes. Oh yeah, okay. There should also be an email that goes out to the mailing list, to the list that all of you fine folks are on, that says, oh, hey, there's a new release out, and here's a link to, or here's a copy of what those release notes are. And for the larger releases, some of you spend time to write blog posts that fully describe the feature and kind of, take people through what that feature, that functionality is, which is a blessing when you do that. It's really helpful to the project. To VJ's point, like you should, yeah, hey, if like for most features, not all, but for like, your stereotypical feature that comes through in a piece of software, oftentimes there's a back end capability, there's a front end capability, maybe there's an API to it, and maybe there's some documentation to it. Maybe there's a user experience that goes with it and some mockups. Like actually for any given, even a small feature, there's a lot of times any number of engineering artifacts or product, like there's roadmap, there's product management artifacts, there's UX artifacts, there's user acceptance tests, there's testing artifacts, there's lots of artifacts that comprise like a single user story, if you would, or a single issue in GitHub's nomenclature. And you wouldn't believe the barrier to getting people to try to contribute or be successful contributing if you ask them to do more than any one of those things at a time. Like it takes a really long time. Um, Elizabeth is here. She's just to use her as an example. She's making waves already. She's building building Jekyll sites. She's fixing issues. She's being productive. And anyway, I guess I was going to use her as an example to say, and of the thing that she's documenting or the documentation that she's updating, or like it's just a lot of coordinate, like doing all that and coordinating, like that the docs would land in the same PR that does the backend functionality, that does the front end, like that documents the UI, that documents the REST API, what have you. Like, there's just no way in hell that's happening. Or like, hopefully someday. That's what happens when you start paying people to be here to do all the things. Like, there's a reason why we don't have we have a desire for a master test strategy and a document that says there should be words inside this master test strategy. And until someone intrigued enough, like Stephen comes along and says, well, hey, I've got some additional fodder that can be used here. Here's some test plan examples that get fairly specific. Maybe this structure would work well. We start building that out until people start getting interested in having these, like it's an awesome thing to see 12, 15 of you on the call, all on a CI call, which to some people is like super boring. To other people, it's really interesting. Like there's a lot of very interesting things in here. This thing that Alonso is doing, it's like one of the challenges Alonso is going to have here. And to VJ's point is like, well, VJ, if we publish a release of an entire documentation set for each of the, each version of software that Meshery releases, yes, technically it should be true that if you're changing code, you should probably change docs if there's a doc change affiliated. And okay, well, where are we publishing this? We're publishing on Jekyll, using GitHub Pages, rather. We're using Jekyll to publish on GitHub Pages. How much storage? That's free, right? Yes, it is. That's why we're using it. How much storage do they give you? Oh, it's 500 megs a month, something, not a month. It's like 500 megs total or something like that. I forget. You can look it up. A quick search will actually tell you. Okay, well, how big is the site? Or how big is the docs site? It's like 54 megs or something. I forget. I don't know. If you multiply it out times the number of releases we have, we got like 100 and something releases, I think, because we have a lot of very minor bug fixed releases. Okay, well, does that add up and does it fit? Yes, if you only publish to use semantic versioning nomenclature, if you only publish the minor releases, v0.1, v0.2, .3.4. If you don't publish the bug fix releases, the v0.4.22, if you start to publish those, you'll run out of free space. Okay, well, it's not like we can't go pay for a small S3 bucket or something like that to host the other somewhere else. Oh, okay. Anyway, there's just like a long thread of things that unravel, and hence why a lot of things kind of are the way that they are. There's a lot of fantastic things we have going on. This thing that Alonso is doing is, when he's done, I think he'll turn around and he'll probably say, that wasn't that hard. Right now, it feels pretty hard though. When you're done, it's like, actually, that wasn't that hard. And we auto publish the new docs every time we make a release. Like, actually, I feel really confident with that now. There's a workflow that auto publishes the docs and and auto versions them too. And it's going to be, when he goes to do that somewhere else, it'll be pretty fast. Not having done it before here, it's a lot of things to consider. Hence, someone like Anirudh Jain, who was kind of on point on this before, gave up, and despite a lot of support and like many hours of conversation with me, one of the things that I made a mistake and continue to make mistakes on is not writing stuff down. It's like talking to folks and not writing our conversations down. It's one of the pains in the rear about Slack. I can't tell you how many things how many times we've architected or designed something in Slack and it's gone. So I'm pleased that you all have access to Google Docs. You're all entitled to edit the docs, create new docs. I think by default, only those that have been here long enough and have come into a community manager role or a maintainer role can delete docs, but don't let that stop you from creating them. Stephen just created quite a few. So anyway, I was sorry I was off, and Mert, like that's such a distraction, such kind of a question that doesn't like. Anyway, the uh, the thing that I only heard the last little bit of what you guys were all talking about. So hopefully that those thoughts help. I didn't want to pretend to provide all the answers or what have you. But I think we're on the right path of what I had heard folks talking about.
Yeah,
May
thanks
I
for
ask,
that. Sorry.
may I ask a question? Uh, the question is, when you put docs into GitHub, is what is being put there from one version to another? Is it the difference, or is it the whole documentation all over again for a new version?
It is the latter. Um, at least in so much as how they count it. And and it's like, well, wait a second. Actually, Elizabeth is going to love this question. Elizabeth, I'm going to talk about you all today, apparently. Elizabeth had a great question, which when I reflected on my answer, it was like, oh man, I was trying to be explicit, Elizabeth, and like give you all the details. And I think in trying to do that, I like didn't really just give a clear answer. But Elizabeth's question on how docs work, how Jekyll works, relates to what VJ is asking, which relates to how Git works. Git is a versioning system. It's won out over Subversion and CVS and other versioning systems for some reasons that I won't digress into, but we'll say that like why would if the docs are stored in Git and there's this versioning system that does these intelligence things around deduplicating text-based, text, which is all of what our source code and things are, and even images as well. Why would having multiple versions of the docs published, that's really just source code underneath, why would each of those independent versions count against us, like in terms of the storage space? Because if it's stored in Git and it's just, if Git is just using pointers to point back, if Git, if I'm trying not to make this, anyway, VJ, the reason that it costs, that publishing a version of the docs takes up the full space of the docs is because each of those are statically compiled. You go off, generate that site, the docs, store that output, do the next one, so that they can be referenced, because the docs themselves, they're not dynamically built. Even though Git is a nice, like internally a linked list system with, it's not a dynamically driven site, so it has to be pre-compiled. That's why it costs you.
Okay.
Yeah, another question that we had, Lee, is related to your pull request about Windows and ARM support. This is for Meshery CTL, or for what is it?
Yeah, just explicitly, it's just Meshery CTL. Something that had happened when we made this last release in v05.1, which was just like 6 days ago or something ish. That to build Meshery CTL, that Go program, to help us make a build of the Meshery CTL binary, and to have a version of that binary produced that runs on Linux, runs on Mac, runs on Windows, and runs on Windows on Intel, Windows on AMD, Windows on ARM, Linux on ARM, Linux on Intel, Linux, produces all those versions of that support different OSs and different architectures. So OS being Linux, Mac, Windows, architecture being like 32-bit, 64-bit ARM versus 86 x86. We use a Go-based utility called Go Releaser to help take care of all that, like cross compilation of Golang to different architectures, different systems, and and it, unbeknownst to us at the time that we made the V051 release, there's a package in Golang that I'm going to explicitly state, but no one should remember. It's not important. Anyway, there's a package dependency error in a common Golang package called memory map, mmap, that's having problems with compatibility of Windows and ARM systems. So it's not related to us. It's nothing that we wrote, but the CI system, Go Releaser, that we use, this project, we collectively, all of you use to build Meshery CTO, is having a problem, is broken. And so the thing is the workflow that creates all those individual versions of Meshery CTO, it's not like it intelligently says, okay, well, I was successful with Mac OS and Linux. I'll save off those individual binaries and publish it. It was like, oh no, I had a problem with Windows and ARM, so I broke, and it failed to publish any Meshery CTL version at all for v05.1. So today, if any of you are running Meshery, you're running the latest stuff, the latest version out there is Meshery Server 5.1. The latest client is only 5.0. There is no 5.1 because of that, because of this issue. So what we did is, because that memory map package dependency issue on Windows and ARM is like such a massive distraction for us to try to go figure out. It's not even like we're going to go figure it out and fix it. It will be fixed in time. And since we don't have users here beating down our door saying we run Windows and we're on ARM and we love Meshery and we want Meshery CTL on Windows and ARM, we just like temporarily, let's just add this architecture and operating system combination to an ignore list. So then that way, next time we make a release, which we need to do today, I'll tell you why, that it would work. It would just ignore that type. The reason that we need to do a release today is because, I don't know if you've noticed, we've got a few users in Slack who are happy to be here, but not having a good first experience. Many of them will use bash, our shell script, to install Meshery. And if they do that, if all of you can see what I'm talking about, if you go to meshery.io, you click on getting started, there's this bash script that you can run. When the bash script runs, it reaches out to GitHub, identifies the latest release, pulls down the latest Meshery CTL. Well, if you all go to GitHub now to the Meshery repo and you go to the releases section, you'll probably find there are no Meshery CTL files. I don't know who's sharing the screen, but if
I'm sharing the screen.
Oh, okay, yeah, Rudolph. I don't know if you like. Two things. If you can go to the releases section of Meshery, and we go to the latest release 5.1. Are there any artifacts in there to download? There's draft release. There's release notes. That's great. But then these artifacts. No, there's no precompiled Meshery CTL. So when someone tries to install Meshery using the bash script right now, they don't.
Yeah.
So normally you'd have all these choices, but so that's why we need to make a release, because the bash script fails to install. It's not that you have to be running the same version of Meshery CTL, that client, and the same version of Meshery server. They don't have to be the same necessarily. I'm running Meshery now and I'm using Meshery CTL 5.0 and Meshery server 5.1. That's just fine. But if you're a brand new user and you run that bash script, that Rudolfo, if you go to meshery.io and you click on getting started, this script won't be able to pull the, um, yeah, if people say, oh, they've got choices here, but if they choose this first one, it'll error out on you because it will look for that latest release and won't find any files. Hence, Rudolfo, do you mind making a release while we're all here so that all of us can know how to do a Meshery release?
Yeah, I think so. It will be the first, but yeah, we can do it.
A maiden voyage. We'll
So
de-virgin you right now. There's actually, this is kind of it's a little bit of an issue because of the bug that we were talking, because of the other bug that Rudolfo is looking into on Release Drafter, this one's not going to have the appropriate release notes. And that's fine. I'll go fix this later. But just for illustrative purposes for everyone else here, Rodolfo, if you were to click on edit, and Rodolfo is able to do this because he's a maintainer, which honestly, I hope that all of you make it to maintainer. That would be awesome.
yeah, for the release notes, you will include the changes, right? Later on.
Mhm. Normally they would be auto there, but yeah, we'll do. And normally this next thing I'm about to say, you wouldn't have to do either, but because of the bug in the, where it has the title V052, if you prepend that with Meshery space with a capital M, or otherwise I'll have to kill you.
Let me see. Uh,
Oh yeah, for sure it's a
yeah,
capital.
yeah, Meshery, capital letter and a space. Okay.
Normally that would be filled, like this is a glitchy release, but that normally it would be filled in. And the only other thing for everyone else to here to take away, there's kind of a couple of interesting things. One is that, all right, well, that's just the name of the release. It's just, there's actually nothing meaningful about it. We're just being consistent. That's all. It's just a convention. What is meaningful is that other field, that tag, that will be a specific string, and we're following semantic versioning. That there's a hyperlink on the right hand side for people to go read about that, but we're just following a specific way that you version your software. We're assigning a new tag and aligning it to the master branch, the mainline branch. And that's actually it. To make the release, Rodolfo will end up just clicking publish this release.
Yeah, I will do it.
Sounds good.
And this will be trigger some actions, right? Should be.
Yeah.
Should do. It don't seems.
Oh, you know what? Oh my gosh, there's like 3 bugs here, all based on that last change. So actually, the other bug is that this is a bad example for everyone because none of this does anyone need to remember. Normally, you just go in and click publish. You literally just press edit and publish. That's it. There's a bug here because of that personal access token that's being used. It doesn't have the correct permission. You got to go back, Rodolfo. You got to delete the release, delete that tag, or you can leave the tag. Just delete the release.
Okay. Uh,
Yeah, it's hidden. I mean, they don't make it easy. If you go back, let me go look.
yeah, I think I don't have the permissions to do that.
It's possible. Okay, when you go to, if you go back to releases
Uh-huh.
and click on, and I just deleted it because but if you go to
Okay.
V051, if you click on the V051, not on edit, but on the, yeah, there you go.
Mm,
Yeah.
there is a word. Okay, thanks.
Yeah, no, they hide it. I mean, I don't know who their UX engineer is. So if you go back, then you can leave the tag where it lie. That's fine, but you'll just draft a new release, and and you'll just reuse the same tag. Yep. And yep. When you start to type out V052, you'll be able to pick it because it's, and that's it. And then yeah.
I think, yeah. Okay, great. Save draft first. I think so. No,
Publish.
publish
Yeah.
directly.
You're cool. Look at that. Oh, you're good.
Okay. No workflows were triggered.
That shouldn't.
Maybe because
The tag was.
I was the.
I don't think so. No, that shouldn't be the case. Like it might be because no, it's. I think it's coming through. To try it. I just got an email. It might be that. So you did make a release that were the reason that the workflow isn't kicking off. If you do it again, or refresh again,
Yeah.
it might be that we have to delete the tag and start it with a new tag. I don't know.
Maybe.
But yeah, if it yeah.
Yeah, maybe we should debug that because I think it only works on B tags or on tags instead of releases.
Okay.
I think so.
Nice. Yeah. I guess yeah, the next my next suggestion would be to delete the tag and like start with a new. But yeah.
Should I delete the release?
Yeah, if you don't mind. And yeah, if you're able to delete the tag as well, you can see if that. Yeah, good luck finding how to delete the tag. Like I don't. Thank you. Yeah, there.
Okay. Yep.
So, question.
Yep.
Would Meshery be speaking at KubeCon this year?
Jubra, I think we heard Meshery at KubeCon. Is that right?
Yes. KubeCon.
Yeah, there will be at least 2 KubeCon talks about Meshery. And there will be a third will have S service mesh performance and get Nighthawk mentioned. And then there might be more that I'm just not tracking. But that's a great question. It's something to talk about on tomorrow's community call, and something that Rudolfo and I were talking about. Navendu gave a talk on Meshery today at a virtual conference. If that's a goal of any of yours, let me know how I can help. Or let me know that you're interested and I'll tell you how I can help, which is a lot of ways.
Yeah. Thank you.
So this is probably going to be really boring to everybody, but Rodolfo, if you just quickly like draft a new release, create a new tag, publish it, and see if it kicks off. Like,
Yeah. Do you want me to do it right now?
yeah, if you don't mind, just like because it'll just be really quick.
Okay.
That will either confirm, oh, maybe there's a permission thing, which I don't think so, or we've got an issue with our workflows.
Okay. Let me share my terminal in order to create a tag.
Okay. You know, you don't even have to do it. That you can do it in the UI if you want, but yeah, either way, we'll.
In the way, yeah.
Yeah, it would
I
draft. Yeah,
okay.
when you do the draft new release, it'll if you type in a tag that is
Oh, okay. It will create the tag, right?
mhm.
Okay. I think if I don't put anything, it will take the last commit or the last merge.
Okay.
So 0.52 measure space 0.52. Okay, looks good.
Nice. Who's crossing their fingers right now? Is anybody?
Me. Oh yeah, he's there.
Oh, Rodolfo just made his first release. What's today?
It was very.
Let me take a taking a screenshot and do a little tweeting. Mert, is it okay if I tweet with your picture in there?
Yes, of course.
Nice. All right. Anyway, yeah.
Yeah, it seems it's working.
I feel like I've totally taken over the meeting. I'm gonna go on mute and please, you guys continue.
Yeah, I think it will create a new pull request.
Then Lee, you went to you mute your mic. I was curious, what were the question you missed today or yesterday on the pub quiz? You tweeted earlier that
Yeah,
you were wrong. So
yeah, yeah. There's a friend of mine had put on he teaches people about Kubernetes. He put on a podcast. His podcast was like this pub quiz where we talked for a little while, kind of like a podcast. Then he interrupts and gives people like he had quiz these questions on Kubernetes, and he had made them up about 26 of them, and some of the questions were like, hey, of the Kubernetes logo, the blue that's in the Kubernetes logo, what is its Pantone color code? Like, whatever hexadecimal number that is, or uh, it was a bunch. It was some of it was just like random stuff that no one could be expected to have memorized, and so yeah, it was stuff like that.
thanks.
Yeah,
Okay, I was thinking on something completely different. I
yeah,
mean, more technical, but yeah.
yeah. He had a couple of those, but it was mostly
I need to fix that because it's 0.5.2 instead of 3. But yeah, I will fix that later.
oh, so it kicked off. So this is the auto release notes.
Yeah, this is the auto release notes, but it doesn't work well because the tag is incorrect and it seems that there is no changes new. So yeah, let me debug that later on and fix this draft pull request.
Hey, since we have like 4 or 5 minutes, I know that Joy and Elizabeth are top of mind for me, and just in making sure that that each of you are warmly welcomed, that you're getting your questions answered. Joy, you were a topic of conversation earlier this morning. We were talking about you behind your back in the best of ways. There's a Meshery CTL command that is collecting dust, and I don't know that it works. I'm gonna Slack you and a couple. I don't know if I should use that as a verb, Slack you, but we're gonna exchange some chats in Slack and see if we can introduce you to this lesser known Meshery CTL command and see if you can help us popularize it.
Yes, that'll be great. Thank you.
Rudolfo, I'm gonna quietly bow out for my part.
No, it's okay. I think it's everything about this 2 hour meeting, CA. But yeah, it went well. So I think we can adjourn. Thanks everyone for attending. And if you have more questions, please do it in Slack. Bye.
See you. Bye.
Bye. Thanks.
Have a good night.
Ciao.
Have a good night.
Hi, everybody.
Bye, everyone.